Good day. Today we will be discussing about supply chain management. So our learning objectives for today's topic are the following. First, learn about the supply chain network and management drivers. Second, understand the complexity and importance of the integration of supply chain. Third, learn about supply chain components, processes, and flows. Fourth, know the different level of supply chain integration. And fifth, examine the impact of the ERP on the supply chain management. Preview. Um, a good supply chain management or SCM system can act as a digital nerve center for the entire business and save the company millions of dollars in costs in order to fulfillment and other back-end support processes. Also, SCM gives companies access to all the critical information they need to plan their operation in an efficient way whenever and wherever they need it. For instance, I think I mentioned about um, to you the SM Advantage card. I think most of us thought about that the SM Advantage card. The purpose of that is for us to gain points on our acquisition or purchases. But in reality, it's actually also benefited SM for them to determine the needs and what product they need to inventory. As I mentioned, they would have a database and gathering all information about when you are going to purchase and what you usually purchase. So before you get your Advantage card, they will get information from you, from your age, name. Sometimes they ask for your where you work, and by having those Advantage card, they will record all your purchases, and they will have their database to know when and what are you usually bought on that period of time. So that will help them to understand what are the product that are sellable, and at the same time for them to know what are the product that they need to inventory. So the third one is SEM improves efficiencies and reduces costs substantially while also giving companies the adaptability to modify their business processes. So also supply chain in the network of services, materials, and information flow that link a firm customer relations, order fulfillment, and suppliers relation processes to those of its suppliers and customers. So as Michael Potter said, a business value chain consists of a series of processes or activities conducted by the company to add value to the existing product or service and to provide competitive advantage in the market. So companies need to understand their supply chain and build the strategy such that its competitive strategy and supply chain strategy are aligned. So a corporation are striving to focus on the core competencies and becoming more flexible and reduce their ownership of raw material sources and distribution channels. So all the functions of a company's supply chain contribution to its success or failure, and they all need to work together to ensure success. Also, to achieve the strategic fit, a company must ensure that its supply chain capabilities support its availability to satisfy the targeted customer segments. So here we have the collaboration in supply chain information. So we have the customer. So the customer order. So the customer service center will receive the order. It's going to be customer service center, account executive, sales or sales manager. Then it can be go to distribution center or go to the suppliers requests. So after that, the materials will go to the distribution center, and then the material or the product itself will be given to the customer. So what SEM drivers? Number one, facilities. So facilities are the place in the supply chain network where product is manufactured, stored, or shipped. So the two major type of facilities are production sites, which usually called plants, and the other one is storage sites, where we usually call warehouses. The third one will be a company needs to decide how many suppliers, manufacturers, facilities, distribution centers, and warehouses to have. So information consists of data analysis concerning facilities, inventory, transportation, customer throughout the supply chain. Last time we discussed about the SAP HANA in particular. So those are actually one way or similar to information. So the SAP HANA will provide details of their production, their inventory, their facilities, transportations, even their customer on the database of SAP HANA, or the details where they're going to deliver it or when they're going to deliver it. So also part of the SCM drivers are the inventory. So inventory is the raw materials, work in process, and finished goods that belong to the company. So aside to that, a successful inventory management policy is to achieve the right balance of responsiveness and efficiency. So it's very, very important that you have the right inventory management policy. For instance, if you are developing a product similar to a car, and you need to have all materials available for you to come up with a new car. Otherwise, if you have missed out, like you miss um, the tire of the car, so you cannot have a finished good unless you have all those items available. So each component should be available to come up with the um, product itself. So kailangan completed siya. You have all the available items para to come up with a product. Next will be transportation. Transportation moves the product between different stages in supply chain. So the type of transportation a company uses also affects the inventory and facilities location in the supply chain. So um, again, transportation is a big factor. So you should determine what is the best way to deliver your product or to receive your raw materials. So for instance, if you are delivering your product, you can go to air freight, you can go to shipment, or you can go to land transportation. So you need to consider those things on your area or on your plant or on your warehouse or perhaps on your clients so that you will have less expenses for the transportation and faster lead time for your delivery. So SCM flows, so we have three categories. We have what we call the product flow. The product flow includes the movement of goods from suppliers to a customer, as well as any customer return or service needs. So the product flow, right now, because of the COVID, we have a different option for the product flow. So I think most of you are in your house, so you go order online. Perhaps for your food, you go to Grab or you go to Sweetbuy or you go to Food Panda. So you order through those um, delivery company or services, online services. Um, and also, I think most of you go to Lazada or to um, Lazada and Shopee for your ordering of your some of your important needs product. Third will be the information flow. The information flow involves transmitting orders and updating the status of delivery. So as I mentioned, most of the company are using different systems for their warehouse management, or perhaps some do have SAP HANA for them to, transmit and update the status of delivery. So I think if you are ordering from Lazada or from Shopee, you can easily check the status and whereabouts of your order. So those are actually part of the transmitting orders. Then the third one will be the finance flow. The financial flow consists of credit terms, payment schedule, and consignment and title ownership or ownership arrangements. So this one is where you can check the financial flow of those client of yours. So you have your systems where you can check their capabilities to pay, their terms of payment, order payment schedule. So when will be the payment? Like some company do pay at the end of the month, some company pay 30 days, some company pay 45 days or 60 days. So this financial flow will help you determine those things. So here is the flow of typical supply chain. So we have supplier, we have manufacturer, we have distributor, we have retailer, and we have customer. So on below, you can do the information flow. So having this, you will have the information needed for you to determine your manufacturer, your distributor, retailer, and your customer itself. Then also the financial flow above will also help you determine your financial term with your manufacturer or your distributor or your retailer or your payment terms of the customer. So software and technology. Increasing number of companies are using the internet and web-based application as part of their SCM solution. So there are two main type of SCM software. So the first one is a planning application. So use advanced algorithm to determine the best way to fill an order. So this planning application is a system where they can determine the best way for to fill an order. So possible they can determine what are the product that are actually sale in the month of December, or they can do a planning application to determine the records from the last year month of January to this month of January 2020. So those planning application will help them determine what need to stock and what will be the quota of their sales. It will be a good way to determine your production and determine what need to be inventory and what need to be stocks. So the next one will be execution application. Track the physical status of goods, the management of materials, and the financial information involving all the parties. So next will be extended enterprises. So enterprise rather. So some SCM application are based on the open data models that support the sharing of data both inside and outside the enterprise. So next one will be the SCM process. So we have procurement. So procurement is a business to business purchase and sales of supply and services. So most companies do have their e-procurement or a system also for their procurement. So this is a way of doing business to other businesses. Like for instance, um, we actually sell equipment to Del Monte. For instance, a machinery to produce their pineapple juice. So we are a business selling machines, and Del Monte is a business producing orange juice. Next will be outsourcing and partnership. So an arrangement in which a company provides services for other company that could also be done or have usually been provided in-house. So right now, most of the company are doing outsourcing or partnership. For instance, a good example of that is Del Monte Philippines Incorporated. On their production, they're actually outsourcing their people from Asia, Asia Pro. And for their accounting and IT, I think it's actually IBM services. So they provide their services so that they will, no longer employ regular employees, but otherwise have a partnership to manage those people. Then the next one will be manufacturing flow management. So manufacturing process is to provide a supply of products to distribution channels based on the forecast or point of sales POS data. So the manufacturing process is produce and supply products to distribution. So channel based on past forecast or points of sales POS data. So usually retailers or store do have POS. Like I think if you check 7-Eleven when you bought something, they have their POS. Those POS will automatically determine the inventory, of the product, so they can the producer can know their manufacturing flow management. They will easily identify or know what are products that are actually being acquired and which product are actually need to be replenished or need more stocks. Order fulfillment. So the process that respond to customer demand by merging several information function, order management, storage, and delivery of finished goods. So order fulfillment sometimes a form that the customer need to fill up. So those are actually somewhat by customer demand and where the order management from the manufacturer or the reseller or distributor that need to be, delivered. So usually this is applicable to those items that are order basis. So order basis that need to be made. So the order form are actually signed by the customer with the specification or perhaps um, specific requests of the customer. So it would be the basis for the manufacturer or the reseller or the retailer before they deliver the product. Next will be the customer service management process. A source of customer information and also provides the customer with real-time information of promising days and product availability through interfaces with the company's production and distribution operation. So this customer service management process will provide the customer an access to a real-time information on the premise expected time of arrival of the product or the availability of the product. So the next one will be the forecasting. This one seeks to predict levels of weekly or monthly product activity over a time of horizon. So usually these forecasting are based on the quota of sales or perhaps based on the last year figures of sales. So if last month January they have 1 million and February they have 2 million and in March they have 3 million, that's 2019. So in the 2020, the forecast will be a possible additional 10%. So in January 2020, it's gonna be 1 million 100, and February 2020, gonna be 2 million 200, and in March, gonna be 3 million 300. E-business and supply chain management. A web-enabled supply chain management. A solution is a digital nerve center for entire businesses. So um, it can be SAP HANA is actually also a web-based capable, but there are actually systems that are web-based alone, not similar with the SAP HANA, which is hybrid. They can act as a web or on-premise systems. Excuse me. But there are also a web-based systems where you access the web and you determine what are the order of the client on the web, especially in the website, where the website can be directly connected to the web application of the manufacturer or the principal itself or the manufacturer, reseller, or distributor. So those actually order online will provide the web application, determine what are the records based on the order of the client and what are need to be um, produced or perhaps what are need to be stocks. So ESCM is the optimal combination of technology and business processes that optimizes delivery of goods, services, and information from the supplier to the consumer in an organized and efficient way. So SCM can use e-business concept and web technologies to manage inventory and information beyond the organization, both upstream and downstream. So ESCM components, replenishment systems, e-procurement, collaborative planning, collaborative design and product development, e-logistic, and supply webs. So exchanges. So replenishment system. So by ECM components, you can determine what specific retailer store that are lacking the availability of a specific product. For instance, if you are the manufacturer of Nike and all the malls retailer are under yours, so you can check on your ESCM system what are the store that lacking the specific Jordan 11 or Jordan 12 the product. So by this ECM system, you can send automatically the Jordan 11 and Jordan 12 since they have no stock. So e-procurement. So e-procurement is part also of ESCM. So the e-procurement, the customer can do procure online by going to their website or having access to the web-based application where they can place their order. So by having those, it can be easier for the cost for the manufacturer to check all the order of the customer. So what we usually do is, and old way is that you print a purchase order, sign it, and then either you fax it or you send it on their email. But the challenge of that is that accessing the email, checking all the orders. What if you have a lot of customers and they send an email? They have 100 items of this specific item, 200 items of this specific item, 300 items of this specific item. So you need to encode all of those order items in your system. But if you have e-procurement system where your customer can access it, or they can, uh, it is connected in your website, and then they can just, log their order there, and automatically those order will be automatically in your system, so that the manufacturer can check what are the order items. It's gonna be easier for the flow. So there will not be problem in the missing order or forgot order or perhaps lacking stock of the component of that specific order. So by having the e-procurement, it's gonna be easier for the those people who are managing the production and those people who are tracking the sales and the financial people who are tracking what are the order or what are the record of this customer if these standing balances. So these are one way or another making the life easier for those people that are working or those people that have a specific job for the management. So the next one will be collaborative planning. So collaborative planning is part of the ECM where each and every one of the member of the company can do collaborative planning. For instance, you have a plan to produce or you are doing a research and development for a specific product, and people that are involved are from the architectural, engineering, um, chem department, or accounting department, or um, production team, or research and development team. So these different department would collaborate plan. So if you have a ESCM system where they can, engage and discuss all systems, and they can provide information and later on advise or suggest, and those will be one way of doing collaborative planning. Most of the time, those systems are helpful in giving information and feedback from the different departments. So collaborative planning is part of the system where each expertise from different department are actually provided, and then to come up for a better product. Then the next will be collaborative design and product development. So here, this is the phase where the planning, come up with a design and product development. So here they can do a prototyping of the product, and uh, the design and the prototyping of the product will be shown to a collaborative team, and come up on a decision on if this is the product will be in production, or this product will be will not be planned to be produced, or perhaps need for more adjustment, or need more additional design. So those things. So then there will be e-logistics. E-logistics will be right now it's the more demand due to COVID. So we know most of the company are doing e-logistics. So gone are those days where you just call and order and be delivered. Right now, it's more about doing order online or order based on the apps before it will be delivered. Before, we usually go to the store and buy the product, but right now I think the limitation of interaction. So we moved into e-logistics. So we try to order, or even we wanted to have a product pick up. Like for instance, in Manila, people are using transporter. I'm not sure if you are familiar with that, but in Manila, they use transporter for pickup of some things and deliver to them. So that's how it works. For instance, I have order from my Manila supplier, and I wanted it to be delivered in PAL for air-to-air transaction. So I'll be call the transporter to pick up my product in the distributor, and then after picking it up, then they send it through the PAL for an air-to-air transaction. So after the pickup, I paid it online, or I pay it through my credit card, and then the product will be shipped air freight from PAL, and then I'll pick up it in the Lumbia airport. So supply webs, so exchanges. So this one is where supplies are based on the also in order are in the webs. So I can, I think most of us, I'm not sure if you're using it, but some companies right now are using Alibaba for their order of the products. So they order it online and delivered to them directly. So this is where, Jack Ma become rich, because the Alibaba are one of the biggest reseller when it comes to different products. So siya mismo ang gakuha from manufacturer to be delivered. So I think Lazada and Shopee are also good reseller, but most of the time we order them for a specific product. Where in Alibaba you can order more supplies. So it's not just a consumer, but it's actually a business to business. So major order. ERP system and supply chain. So ERP focuses in providing an integration transaction processing that enhances organizational performance by increasing information consistency and transaction efficiency. So while SEM, on the other hand, are aimed to providing a higher level of business planning and decision support. So functionality for effective coordination and execution of inter-organizational business processes. And web-based technology have the revolutionized the way business is carried on the SEM and ERP are no longer exceptions. Example of enterprise level portal. So employees self-service, client self-service, vendor self-service, SFA self-service, calendar self-service, and other self-service. So enterprise functionality portal, so personalization, collaboration, communication, security, search, customization, GUI tools, app, applets tools, so ERP, CRM, SEM, BI, web content, and desktop tools. So um, uh, CRM is a customer relation management, And BI is business intelligence. So this is analytical. They can determine what are need to be stocked or when are needed to be stocked. So it's not just based on the database, but it's actually analytical system. Sorry. Um, ERP legacy system linkage across the supply chain. So ERP legacy system, so supplier, ERP legacy system, so manufacturer. So most of the company do have their legacy system, but most of them are moving to ERP for a better way of serving their customer. So ERP versus SCM. So points of comparison. So comprehensiveness. So covers a wide range of functionality. SCM is limited to specific supply chain functionality. So again, for your information, ERP is a system where it covers all the business flow of the company. Like for instance, if we talk Sipalco, they are actually planning to use ERP. Um, ERP is part of their engineering services, um, support services, um, financial services, human resource information services, payroll systems. So ERP are combine all systems required by the company. It can be per modules, while SCM is limited to specific supply chain functionality. So the SCM function is more about the supply chain. So manufacturing, delivery, and possible payment as part of it. Then complexity, high complex. So SCM is relatively less complex. Sourcing tables, relatively static. So ang SCM is relatively dynamic. So constraint handling, all the demand, capacity, and materials constraints are considered in isolation of each other. While in SCM, it is simultaneously handling of the constraints. So I think every ERP na siya'y kaugalingon yung module. So every module are actually isolated. So to handle its own problem. Like for instance, in human resource information system. So the function of that is under the HR, while in SCM it's actually purely supply chain. So it's not actually part of the system. So it's the only system for that SCM. Then functionality, so relatively less dynamic because they are mainly concerned with transaction processing speed and capacity. While in SCM, relatively more dynamic because it performs simulations of transaction adjustment with regards to constraints in real time. And lastly, processing speed, relatively slower, and SCM is faster. Well, faster siya because it is the only system, while ERP are actually modular and it's cater a lot of module system. Supply chain integration. So to stay competitive in Lighten, companies have strived to achieve greater coordination and collaboration among supply chain partners. So information integration refers to the sharing of information among members of the supply chain. Planning synchronization refers to the joint design and execution of plans for product introduction, forecasting, and replenishment. Then workflow coordination refers to the streamlined and automated workflow activities between supply chains partners. So supply chain integration dimension. So we have information integration. So the elements is information sharing and transparency and direct real-time accessibility. So the information integration, the advantage of that in the supply chain integration dimension is that the transparency of information. So when the client order, everybody are aligned to produce those. So if in the production you have production A, production B, production C, before you come up to complete product, when the customer order and the information are actually given or shown or accessible to those um, production A, B, and C, they are actually required to produce those because they have timetable given on the information for the transparency. So those will information are required for them to perform their obligation. So benefits of that is that reduce bullwhip effect, early problem detection, faster responses, and trust building. So early problem detection. So by having those, you can easily determine if you have lacking available component of the product or schedule deliverables of supplies. So those will help you, fast track all those needed to come up with the product ordered by the client. Then synchronized planning. So the element is that collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment and joint design. So since you have those information, you will have a synchronized planning with all the team. So you can easily forecast when you are going to deliver. You can easily determine when to replenish the product. And then in the benefits, you can reduce bullwhip effect and lower costs because you can plan already when to order. You know already that you are need this product, so you can determine the increase of this raw material, when will be this product, this raw material will be in demand, so you can anticipate. And then you can optimize capacity utilization. So since the target is delivery within, we have major delivery in the month of December, so you can optimize all your employees. So you cannot decide the leave are only allowed uh, not during this specific period of time, and you can also do improvised services considering that information you have, so you can rehire people for this specific time, or get people from other department for to optimize your your capacity. Supply chain integration dimension. So in workflow coordination, the elements coordinated production planning and operation, procurement, order processing, engineering change and design, integrated automated business processes. So having those, system is going to be easy for the workflow coordination. Since again, every the system are actually integrated, or every department are allowed to see what are happening. So from the production A, B, C, and D, they can have the timeline when it can be actual product. So benefits, efficiency and accuracy gains, fast response, improved services, earlier time to market, expanded network. Then the new business model, so virtual resources, logistic restructuring, mass customization, new services, click and mortar models. So benefits is a better asset utilization, higher efficiency, penetrate new markets and create new products. So integrating ERP and SCM system. So ERP system help automating the business processes, enabling reliable information capture and retrieval. So SCM system offer capabilities to integrate various entities that make up the supply chain and facilities that seamless flow of information between all supply chain partners. So integration of ERP and SCM is very top task because each member in the supply chain may have different hardware and software. Enterprise application integration. So facilitate the flow of information and stops transaction among disparate and complex application and business processes within among the organization. Then provide a broad range of services that range from security management to a protocol management to data mapping in among related function. So data mapping is where um, you can have um, visualization of the usage of your product from the different areas. So, like for instance, as I mentioned kanina, if you are Nike manufacturer, you can easily map which among your retailers are actually doing very, very good for a specific product. And I think if you observe, not all Nike store are actually selling all the products of Nike. There are Nike store that don't have Jordan. There are Nike store that don't have, shoes for basketball, but they have the running shoes. They have soccer shoes. So it's specific, and that's actually based on the mapping. So they determine based on the data that are provided, what are the products that are actually, they're doing well. So that is where they are focused on that specific product. So many of the companies today are embracing the component-based application, either by developing a new application or by compensizing their existing application. Phases of enterprise application integration process. So solution outline phase, application phase, design phase, and implementation phase. So these are actually the enterprise application integration processes. So solution outline phase. So in this phase, the solution are outlined. So what are the plan and what will be, the idea that this is where they try to brainstorm and, based on what are need to be delivered. Then the architectural phase is this is where they do they start um, coming up with ideas. So this is where they try to architecture the product, and then the design phase is where it's prototyping. So the product are already designed, and then they already have the plan what will be the product, and then they try to implement in the implementation phase. So after implementation phase, then the product is the output. Benefits of enterprise application integration. So increase efficiency, automation of the process, value of information, redundant database are aligned, eliminating duplicate data. So this is very, very important. So, sometimes there are two sales that handling specific clients, or since the sales is actually competing to each other, they wanted to meet their quota. Sometimes they actually deal with the same client, and sometimes they get the same order. So what will happen if these two sales, place their order in the system? So they will be duplicate data. So, well, the value information of the SCM will help them, in the enterprise application, will help them eliminate those duplicated data. So whoever get log the order, so he or she will be the person sales to get the sales. Dili kay, both of them get the sales, and then the problem is that when the client receive the product, they will decline with the other items that are delivered because they only have one order. So those are the things. Then the next one will be the lower cost. So one interface per application, lowering the cost of upgrades. Then increase of productivity, result from business process automation and access to real-time information. Then improve of customer service. So employees have a real-time access to give accurate information to customers. So if the customer follow up for their order, the employee can, tell them the status. It is in the 90% process, or it's already in the 50% process, or it's already, 100% available for delivery, or perhaps they can provide information like the item is already in the shipment, the item is already in the logistic, so those things. Then improve customer service. So employees have real-time access to give accurate information to customers. So this is, what I mentioned kanina. Then, enhanced access. So ability to extend application to more user from anywhere, anytime over the VPN. So if is if this is not a web base and it's on a VPN, so If you are, since right now most of the employee are, in their house because of the COVID, so still they can access their system in the office through VPN. So they can place order, they can place information needed, like, um, request a specific item order of the client, so they can easily access it through VPN. RFID so allows for real-time automation of many data collection functions originally conducted by paid employees. So each hardware implementation will need to be designed specifically to meet the needs of purchaser as there are no off-the-shelf alternatives. So this one is very, very specific. Having an RFID, they can easily, um, determine what specific product are going to deliver. As I mentioned, if you are in the warehouse and you have a lot of category of product, it's gonna be hard for you to, to determine what's in the box. So, but having RFID on the box is gonna be easier for you. So, if you have a barcode scanner, you just click the barcode scanner and then determine what's the hardware inside of that box. Okay. Software, much easier to design. These are the cases where a near vanilla implementation could be sufficient, giving the company some cost saving. So changing any process where there's step occur to automated RFID data collection will eliminate the possibility of human error. So as I mentioned, having an RFID would be easier for your people in the warehouse to determine what product is specific in the box. Um, Commonly, if you don't have a system, there are big chances that the shipment of the product will be sent to other customer. So other customer receive a different product. So if you receive those things like that, most possible that the company where you acquire it don't have a system that are using RFID. Since if you have RFID system, barcode will, if you have a barcode scanner and your RFID system, it's gonna be easier for you to determine. So when you click the barcode, you will determine where it will be going to ship, when it will be going to ship, who are the client, and what are in the boxes or in the box. Implication for management. So managers should understand that SCM is an important component to the successful implementation of ARP system. So balancing the supply chain efficiency and responsiveness is more an art than a science. A supply chain provides great competitive advantage in today's web-enabled economy. And integrating is the key issue to the success of the supply chain. So integration must occur at multiple levels and not just a network or a hardware platform level. So here are the summary. So supply chain management, SCM, is a central piece of technology in today's enterprise system. SCM provide a link for services, materials, and information across the value chain of organization. So ERP vendor have started including SCM as a component of a module of the software. So there are four main drivers for SCM system performance: facility, inventory, transportation, and information. So SCM involves operation management of many organization processes and procedure. SCM play a major role in the success of e-business and e-commerce. A good SCM is designed in collaboration with the organization partners rather than stand alone. Integration with the SCM system is on many types: supply chain, ERP system, and enterprise application. And enterprise application integration process is very complex and has multiple life cycle. So here are the review questions, and I would want you to submit later. So I'll be having a link in our e-learn for you to submit all these questions. So first, what are the motivation for an organization to have a good supply chain management system? Second, define the SCM in your own words. Third, list the four drivers of SCM and how they impact the system responsiveness. Fourth, what are the major type of SEM software? Five, briefly describe the SEM processes. Six, why is the SEM implementation critical for the success of e-business? Seven, what are the major components of the ECM? So that's all. So I'll be uploading the link for the e-learn for you to submit those questions. And the deadline will be Wednesday, 12 midnight. Thank you.